BTS News Today.it happened in just 3 seconds. A fleeting look, barely perceptible to anyone except those who have watched them for years. Jimin, seated in the harsh glow of studio lights during a major interview that was supposed to celebrate his latest solo achievement, froze at a single question. His eyes shifted, his lips parted, then pressed shut again. And then, the silence. A silence that spoke louder than any answer could. A silence that launched 1,000 theories across the internet within moments. The question had been simple, innocently posed by the interviewer with a warm smile, unaware of the tremor it would unleash. When you think about the person who inspires you the most, whose name comes first? It was a question Jimin had answered many times through the years. Sometimes he would say his family. Sometimes he would say the members, or army, or even the name of an artist he admired. But this time, something held him back. His face tightened, and his brows dipped with the smallest trace of conflict. His fingers, resting lightly against his lap, curled inward as if to grip a truth he wasn't allowed to speak. For 3 seconds, he wrestled with something deep. A word, a name, and then came the nod. Soft, deliberate, loaded with meaning. That was all. But to millions watching globally, that nod was a crack in the dam. There were no syllables spoken. There was no official name. But entire fan communities erupted with one shared instinct that it was Jungkook. Jungkook, the golden magne, the fiercely talented, endlessly charismatic younger member who has been glued to Jimin's side through triumphs and tragedies. Jungkook, who once said Jimin was the reason he held on during the most difficult days. Jungkook, whose eyes always seemed to find Jimin first in every room they ever stood in. Jungkook, whose name suddenly felt like a forbidden word. The moment replayed endlessly on social media. Fans slowed the footage down frame by frame, like investigators piecing together evidence of a suppressed truth. Did you see how his expression changed? One popular fan account wrote. He clearly thought of someone specific and was deciding if he should say the name. And the top reply, liked over 200,000 times, simply read, "We all know who." What made the moment even more electrifying was what happened next. The interviewer, confused by the silence, tried to move on. But Jimin interrupted, not with words, but with a breath that trembled as it left him. He pressed a hand lightly against his chest and looked down, as though apologizing to a heart beating too loudly inside him. When he looked back up, he forced a smile. But it wasn't the bright, playful grin that once defined him. This was the type of smile someone wears when they are trying not to break. Later that night, fans noticed that Jungkook had gone completely silent on all platforms. No playful live streams. No cryptic posts. No spontaneous message for ARMY. It was as if both names had vanished from the air at the same time. The universe hitting pause exactly where the lines of their stories crossed. The speculation, however, refused to rest. A trending hashtag surged immediately. Hashtag the forbidden name. Following that came hashtag was it Jungkook and hashtag Jimin nodded. Each one climbing higher until they dominated the top 10 worldwide trends. Yet HYB remained still. The silence from the label only made everything louder. There had been rumors for months now. Whispers of strained schedules, of an unspoken distance, of choices made behind boardroom doors rather than on shared stages. Fans insisted they felt a shift, a barrier forming between two people who once seemed inseparable. Some believed it was simply the weight of their separate careers pulling them in different directions. Others saw shadows darker than that, perhaps disagreements, restrictions, or something deliberately hidden from the public. And now, after that silent nod, after that name unspoken, the entire world demanded answers. What could possibly make Jungkook's name forbidden for Jimin to say? What force could silence someone who has always been one of the most emotionally open members of BTS? To understand the weight behind that moment, one must go back, not to the interview stage, but to the years when everything between them wasn't questioned, when names were spoken freely without fear. Their story together began long before fame placed a magnifying glass on every breath they took. Jungkook, still just a teenage trainee, shy and unsure of himself, once confessed that he nearly left everything behind before debut. It was Jimin who held him steady. Jimin who, despite being older by only 2 years, became a kind of anchor. When Jungkook cried, Jimin stayed by his side. When Jungkook doubted his abilities, Jimin pushed him forward. When Jungkook was lonely, Jimin gave him somewhere to belong. For Jimin, Jungkook was the little brother he never asked for but grew to love fiercely. They shared secrets whispered under dark dorm ceilings, laughter erupting from exhaustion during rehearsals, and the thrill of performing side by side as the world chanted their names. They were not only members of the same group, they were witnesses to each other's transformation from boys into legends. The closeness was impossible to hide. Their bond was a living thing, seen in glances, touches, the kind of comfort only built through years of trust. Army called it fate. Others called it destiny. Management called it a potential problem. As the group's popularity soared, the narratives surrounding them became more guarded. Casual affection turned into potential headlines. Every moment together sparked rumors too wild for the company's liking. Jungkook and Jimin, once free to simply exist near each other, began to feel the permanence of the spotlight, the weight of every gaze. Their laughter became measured, their interactions filtered by caution. Jimin was someone who felt deeply, wore emotions like art upon his skin. Jungkook was someone who clung tightly to his joys, and Jimin was one of them. That alone made their closeness a target. Over time, fans noticed tiny changes. Jungkook sat further away in interviews. Jimin spoke less about him in public. Shared trips, meals, and live streams became rare. And though they insisted everything was fine, that they were still close, there was an undercurrent of sadness woven subtly through their smiles, and now here they were. A question about inspiration, a simple question, had become a turning point. What Jimin didn't say had spoken volumes. Some insiders claim that the company has placed strict boundaries around how often the two can be seen together publicly, fearing that their combined attention overshadows other members and projects. Others suggest that a larger secret lies beneath, one that could shake the delicate balance of everything they've built. There are theories, wildly dramatic, deeply emotional theories, that perhaps the bond between them has evolved beyond what the public should be allowed to see. But then again, maybe it's less dramatic and more tragic. Two friends torn apart by expectations they never asked for. Whatever the truth, the silence is suffocating. After the interview aired, paparazzi photos surfaced a few hours later. Jimin was seen leaving the broadcasting building, head lowered beneath a hoodie, his mask unable to hide the set of his jaw or the tension in his shoulders. There was no manager by his side, just a lone figure walking swiftly into the night as camera flashes chased him like ghosts. Meanwhile, Jungkook was spotted in a completely different part of the city, stepping out of a studio wearing a black beanie pulled low. He said nothing to reporters who shouted his name, demanding reactions to the trending chaos online. His expression was unreadable, except for the slightest sag in his posture, as if something inside him had been quietly bruised. Fans analyzed every photo, every movement, piecing together a story from fragments. One picture captured Jungkook looking down at his phone with an expression that seemed almost broken. In another, Jimin gripped his jacket tightly, eyes glistening beneath the streetlights, as if fighting back emotions that had been trapped inside him for far too long. Both were silent. And that silence screamed.